Hi guys, my name is Jennifer and today we're going to be talking about MehdinaTV. MehdinaTV is a channel run by a married Muslim couple who happen to be super adorable. I came across their channel in a random way, like just one of their videos showed up. I was intrigued by the woman wearing the veil, the face veil, and I clicked on one and she was really fun, upbeat, and she was talking about her religion. And then I watched a few more of their videos and her husband was in the videos, and all of their videos are like super upbeat, like fast, quick, and they teach you about Islam, they teach you about what it's like being a Muslim, and they're very fun and relatable, which is actually what's problematic about them, because in these videos you start learning that, hey, they are forbidding from doing certain things that are very random and arbitrary, and there doesn't seem to be a good logic behind it, but that's what their religion dictates and they follow it. And the fact that they make it all like upbeat, yay, this video is happy, that's what's a little bit problematic, because, you know, people who are watching these videos are like, oh, it's no big deal that you can't show your face, oh, it's no big deal that you have to wear a face shield, when in reality is that it is a big deal. Following arbitrary or harmful rules just because your religion tells you to, it's problematic. So we're going to take a look at a few of these videos and discuss some of the things that are promoted in these videos. Obviously, everybody should be allowed and should be free to make any type of videos they want, but at the same time, we are allowed to point out the problems on those videos. So, well, before I go into reacting to some of the clips, I wanted to say that I am against most of the ideas pushed in most religions in the world: Christian religion, Catholic religion, Jewish religion, and obviously Islam. So this is not just a criticism exclusive to their religion. I disapprove of most religions, and honestly I have to give them props because they do a really good job at discussing touchy subjects in a light-hearted way, because obviously Islam is not very popular here in the United States. So I give them props because I know a thing of two about discussing topics people are resistant to in an approachable way. So before we get into it anymore, I want to show you just one of their little short videos so you can get an idea of what their content is like before we discuss any more of their clips. Let's pick a random one. This one's called, "Am I allowed to ride a cab alone?"
This is how I would ride a cab. This is my mom.
Hello guys.
So usually when I'm riding a cab or anything like that, like Uber, I would sit in the back seat and I would have somebody with me, like my mom, my sister, my brother, or my husband. I have my mom with me right now, so we can ride it together. But mom, what if there's an emergency and you're not with me? Can I go in the cab alone?
Yes, of course, because life is first priority.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the wife, the girl. As you can tell, they come across as very likable, and I'm pretty sure they're very likable. But the problem I have with these videos is exactly that they are so upbeat and so lighthearted that I feel like they trick people into thinking, oh, you know, this lifestyle is totally cool, nothing wrong with it, when the reality is that there's a lot of wrong with some of the lifestyle rules Muslims have to follow. For instance, let's just analyze that little clip. She's talking about riding a cab, right? When can she ride a cab? What are the rules? Apparently, from that clip, it makes me think that in most circumstances, she can only ride a cab if she is accompanied by someone that she's allowed to ride with, right? So apparently, in most circumstances, she should not ride a cab alone. She should be accompanied by like her husband, her mom, or someone else that is approved of by her religion, I suppose. And of course, they say that there's an exception. She can ride alone in a cab if, you know, she needs to get to the hospital to save her life, right? Which is completely arbitrary, and those are the things that I have issue with. I love the sentiment behind their videos. Like they're trying to make it seem like, hey, anybody can live this life. It's not that bad. It's not that there's not much compromise. I can still ride a cab, but the reality is that, I mean, if she doesn't have someone with her and there's not an emergency, she just cannot ride her Uber or her cab. Like, that's very limiting. And at the same time, it's not just like, oh, let's say it's limiting. What we need to analyze is what's the logic behind it. In this case, I suppose is the religion, but what's the religion trying to protect her from? That's what I have problems with, because in real life, millions and millions of people, women, ride cabs and Ubers alone all the time and are completely safe. I don't know what the deal is about. I guess I'm gonna look it up and see why would they be against a woman riding a cab on her own. Okay, so I looked up the cab thing and it wasn't very clear, but what I got from reading this is that this rule about women not being able to ride a cab alone is in part to help the woman preserve her dignity. Why? I don't know. Maybe they think that her riding alone with a male driver can raise rumors about her, or maybe exposes her to impure thoughts, or exposes the driver to have impure thoughts about the woman. Either way, whatever the reasoning, it is irrational. Like, you cannot control people's thoughts, and the thoughts alone are not going to harm anybody, right? So it seems like such a backwards thing to forbid women to drive ride sharing or cabs on their own to protect their dignity. I mean, in my opinion, dignity has nothing to do with what other people think of you. It's about how you carry yourself through life and whether your actions are good or not. And riding in a cab with whoever, that's not gonna affect your sense of dignity. So that's one of those rules that seem very arbitrary and irrational, and I wonder where exactly they came from. I was reading here something about some of the holy texts where one of the prophets gave a ride to a woman in a camel, but it was allowed because the camel had two humps, so they were technically separated. You know, like, what? This is what you're basing your rules on? The fact that somebody gave a ride to someone on a camel hundreds and hundreds of years ago, like, it makes no sense. So let's watch a couple more. Okay, this video is called "My Husband Would Leave Me If I Did This."
Would you leave me if?
Let go.
What if I couldn't have children?
No, I wouldn't leave you.
What if I married you just for your money?
Yes, but then you married the wrong person.
What if I took my hijab off?
No, but I'd be disappointed in you.
What if I was overweight?
No, I wouldn't leave you.
What if I was texting or hanging out with my male friends alone?
Yeah.
What if I didn't cook or clean for you?
No, I wouldn't leave you.
What if I decided to convert out of Islam?
If you left permanently, then yes.
What if I decided not to live with you anymore?
It depends, but please don't leave me.
Okay, that one I'm not going to criticize so much. The one thing that stood out was the question, would you leave me if I convert out of Islam, right? And he says yes if she decided to live permanently Islam, right? So in this case, this one is not that bad because a lot of people, religion is very important to them, right? So if your spouse stops believing in the same religion that you believe in, that's probably gonna create a lot of conflict. So I understand, but at the same time, it's just slightly irrational, because what if everything else is perfect? What if you still love them, they make you happy, and they just have decided not to follow the same religion anymore? Is that really such a deal breaker that you have to leave them? I wonder if that's his personal choice, or if that's like a rule in Islam that if you're Muslim, you can only be married to someone who follows the same religion. This is how I eat at restaurants. So, you know, she has a face veil.
All of the ways I've eaten before.
It's not going in. Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna see a face.
Look over there.
What magic?
Okay, let's eat that.
Are you guys kidding me? No.
Okay, she's making fun of the fact that probably people think that it is very complicated to eat in public when you have a face veil. And I've seen some of other her videos and she tries to make it like, it's not a big deal. And then, you know, she adds the music, ding, 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 to make it seem comedic, like, it's not such a big deal, you know. It's only a little bit of trouble. All I need to do is like move the face veil to the side and like I eat. But like, really? That's how you live your life? Like, your life could be so much easier if you just didn't have anything to cover you. I still don't understand the logic behind covering their face. Like, why does Islam suggest that they should cover their face? I do not understand. But if we go by just observing reality in the human world, there's nothing that should indicate that wearing a face cover in real life is practical or desirable, unless you're someone who, you know, values privacy a lot and you don't want anyone to know your identity, or you live in a place where there's many bugs. I see why you would want to wear something that covers your face 24/7, but I doubt that's the case for her. I doubt she lives in a world with lots of bugs, and I question whether privacy is her main concern. So the alternative is that she is covering her face because of religious reasons, and in that case, what is the logic? Like, at least here on earth there would be no tangible benefits to covering your face. So she must be doing it because she either has a fear that she will be punished, or because she thinks she will get a reward for wearing this veil. All right, so I looked up the face veil, and it turns out that there's not like a general consensus that you have to wear hijab or not. Apparently, some people think that it is mandated, some people think that it is optional. People from MehdinaTV, I think they view it as optional, but she chooses to wear it because I guess she thinks, you know, it's more pleasing to her God. And I was reading the logic behind it is one that they want women to not be a subject of the male gaze, you know, and being covered and covering their face and everything helps them maintain safety, which I can understand to a degree, but only if you believe that people are so irrational and so unable to control their urges that women have to do this to protect themselves. But that should not be the case. We should not be putting all the responsibility in women, like, you better cover yourself if you don't want to get raped. Like no, men should be responsible for their actions and they should be able to control themselves, so that it's not up to the woman to be blocking off attacks her entire life by covering herself from her head to toe. Not that there's anything like implicitly wrong from covering yourself, but it is very inconvenient, you know, because, well, for instance, when you go to the beach, these people literally go to the beach in with wearing these long garments and the face veils. So, and you know, eating is inconvenient. When it's a hot day, it's inconvenient, even though she has some videos that she says that, oh no, I just wear dresses with light fabrics, but you know, you're covering your entire arms and your face. Even if it's a super light fabric, you would be more comfortable with less fabric, you know. So it is weird that people voluntarily choose to make their life more complicated, even if it's just a little bit more complicated, like, oh, it's no big deal, it's just fabric. Like, you could be enjoying your life a little bit more without the fabric, you know. So it is kind of sad that people follow these rules that are not rational. They do not really benefit you, and it's just because your religion says so, you know. This one's called, is she allowed to do this?
Are you allowed to get a haircut?
Yes.
What about a pixie cut?
Nope.
Can you cut your hair above your shoulder?
Nope.
What about dyeing your hair?
Yes.
Can you grow your hair super long?
Yes, just keep them clean.
What about styling your hair in any way?
So it depends, like we can't get a mohawk.
Can you donate your hair?
So no, because we can't show our hair or wear wigs made of real hair.
What about shave your head bald?
So I can't do it without a medical reason, but you can.
So, wow, that one was shocking. I mean, not even that shocking, but that's one that has one of those arbitrary rules. Why can she cut her hair short? Why can't she shave her head without a medical reason? The religious reason, I don't know, but in real life, like, there's no drawback in everyday life from a woman cutting her hair short. Literally nothing's gonna happen. Is she gonna get punished? No one's gonna come and punish her. If she shaves her head, she might look ugly maybe, but nothing's gonna happen. So what is the repercussion for her if she shaves her hair? Let's look it up. Okay, so I found an article talking about whether Muslim women should cut their hair short or not. I mean, can they cut their hair short or not? And it's very gray. It's kind of like, well, yes, maybe, just not too short, and blah, blah, blah. But like, what's weird is the reasoning behind it. Like, you may cut your hair, but only because there's this passage in the sacred text that kind of implies that you can. Like, let me just read you the article. It says, it is perfectly legitimate for a Muslim woman to cut her hair short. Abu Salaman, blah, 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 narrates, the wives of the Prophet used to cut their hair until it came just below their ears. However, the Prophet forbade women from shaving their heads. So if the text didn't mention anything about women cutting their hair short at some point, then women should never cut their hair short. This is what's problematic with religions. You are only allowed to do things if they were mentioned in this ancient book. And if they were mentioned in a negative way, then you're not allowed to, right? Like, if the book said, oh, the Prophet never ate at 3 p.m., then people are gonna be like, oh, well, then we should never eat at 3 p.m. Like, this is what's problematic. It's so arbitrary. There is no logic behind it. And it's the same with all religions. You're just supposed to do it because somebody holy did it many, many years ago. It makes no sense. And of course, like, all of my opinions here are very ignorant of Islam, because I don't know anything about Islam, so I'm just looking up random articles to try to gain some sense of why they do these things. So I apologize if a lot of what I'm saying is uninformed, but the sentiment is true that a lot of these things are only mandates because they came from some random mention on the book, and when it comes down to it, there is no real life practical reason to live by these rules, to follow these rules. There's no, and in fact, many times there's actually many drawbacks from following those rules. For example, the one about not being able to ride in a cab alone as a woman. Like, if you live in a modern city and you need to move around and you don't have a car, what if you don't have a lot of family in the city that you live in? Like, are you always gonna have to be like, can somebody accompany me? Because I need to take a cab ride, I need to take an Uber. Like, it's so inconvenient, and it's all because of these arbitrary religious rules. Okay, this one's called, my wife would not marry me if I did this.
Would you marry me again?
Let go.
Would you marry me if I swore?
That's a no-no for me.
What if I had no money?
I would still marry you.
What if I had female friends?
Then no.
What if I drank alcohol?
Do you still do it?
No.
Then yes, I'll still marry you.
What if I was a really bad student?
Grades don't matter to me, so I'd still marry you.
Yeah, but what if I wanted a second wife?
No.
What if I saw your face before marriage?
Did you tell me you did it?
No.
Then no.
But what if I told you no more face veil after marriage?
Then find yourself an unveiled woman. Bye!
Okay, the one that I'm concerned about, and I want to look it up, is the one where he said, would you marry me if I had female friends? And she said no. Okay, I get that in real life, without factoring any type of religion, sometimes women are not comfortable with their boyfriends, husbands, or whatnot, having female friends, especially if they're cute, the female friends, right? But what if they're just like very casual female friends, you know, they don't hang out with them alone and whatnot. They just like, oh, follow each other on Instagram, or, you know, they talk to each other at group parties. Like, is he not allowed to have even those very casual acquaintances with women? What is the logic behind it? I want to look it up. I want to understand it better. Okay, so I looked up why can't married Muslim men have female friends, and it came up with some interesting results. But before we get into that, let's discuss, you know, if religion wasn't a factor, are there any positives about married men not having female friends, female acquaintances? I guess you could argue that, sure, with less female friends, you would have less temptation to be unfaithful in your marriage and whatnot. And I think after I read those articles about why Muslim men cannot have female friends, is a similar sentiment that is kind of like to protect the marriage, to protect the roles, the gender roles. And the problem with that is that it's just insulting to people in general. This rule over married men is imposed because basically they don't trust the men's ability to control themselves, to control their actions. And so because we don't trust them, they should not have any female friends at all. And that's obviously a little irrational. Like, I understand a little bit of the logic, because in reality, some people have a bad moral compass and make bad choices, and they give in to temptation very quickly, including married people. But still, you don't need to make it a rule. Like, people should be allowed to decide for themselves, how much should I engage in this friendship? What do I need to do to keep it platonic and to not escalate it to protect my marriage? You know, like, you don't need your religion to make that mandatory. You should not have female friends. You yourself should be able to self-monitor and manage those relationships without it having to be a religious rule, you know? Because you have reason, you have a mind, you can think about the pros and cons, and then that way you decide that, hey, I should probably not go spend time by myself with my female friend and not tell my wife, because obviously that might upset your wife. You know, you can make those decisions yourself without your religion telling you to do it.
Would you marry me yet?
Let go.
Would you marry me if I have no teeth?
Yes.
What if I wore shorts above the knee?
I prefer you didn't.
What if I kept no beard?
No.
What if I lived...
What if I kept no beard? No. What if...
Are we allowed to listen to music? God, I hope they are.
A lot of people were asking, do we listen to music?
So guys, it is a complicated topic, but let's address it. First of all, we're not scholars, so we're not going to say whether it's haram or halal. But we will tell you there is a difference of opinion on music. Some say that musical instruments are allowed, some say that music instruments are not allowed. The opinion we follow is that music is allowed as long as it doesn't take you away from the remembrance of God. What that means is, so if there is a song going on and it's just very inappropriate, it has a lot of swear words, that's not good. We don't listen to that.
Yeah.
But if there's a song that remembers God, that says God's name, or if you listen to it and you remember God even more, that's the type of music that is okay. And then there are some very like background musics that, you know, that don't really make you feel any sort of way.
Yeah.
Kind of goes with the video, and like you focus on the video that it goes with more than the actual background sound.
So basically, any songs that you're like kind of unsure of, we always steer clear of that.
Yeah.
Anything that can has the potential to take us away from God, we completely avoid that.
That being said, you may also wonder, what about the radio? You know, like that we have control over. So we don't listen to the songs that come on the radio. We actually don't play the radio in our car.
Yeah.
And then there's the other thing where we go to the mall and there's music everywhere. Now, can we control that? No. We really can't. At that moment, all we can do is just, you know, try not to focus on the song as much.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Lego.
As a revert, I know you
Yeah.
had to give up music
Yes.
in a certain respect.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that for you? Because you were big on music. Like, you grew up with music all your life.
But one thing I noticed though, when I used to listen to all those rap music, it would sway my mood a lot. It would make me more aggressive, make me want to swear. All the bad things about like drugs, women, all this other stuff, it was not good messages that can subconsciously influence you.
Okay, so at the end, he's talking about how he decided to give up music, especially rap, because it would influence his mood negatively. And I can understand that. But the fact that they have to be monitoring themselves all the time to listen, to not try to listen or pay attention to music that doesn't talk about God is very concerning and troubling, because again, it seems irrational. Let's think of a song that is very neutral. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. I guess if you hear that on the radio, I mean, that song is obviously not about God and it's not gonna make you violent. Why is it bad to listen to music? It's not gonna harm you, so why? Okay, music. I looked it up and there's also many opinions on this, but let me just read you one of the first results. On Google, it says, music is forbidden only if it leads the believer into activities that are clearly defined as prohibited, such as drinking alcohol and illicit sex. Illicit sex, like sex outside of marriage. This is one of those, it doesn't seem as arbitrary as some of the other rules, but it is irrational. Like, I get why you would try to discourage activities that would make you engage in other bad activities, but music is one of those things that, you know, prohibiting music, listening to music, it's also an insult to the human mind and to people's ability to make choices, to make good choices. Just because you listen to a song with dirty lyrics, that doesn't mean you're gonna act on them, because as a human being you have agency over your mind and over your actions. Listening to music is not going to immediately make you engage in bad activities. So these rules are like, they seem like rules for babies. Like, you tell the baby, don't go into the kitchen because you know that there's dangerous things in the kitchen and you don't want the baby to go in there. But you know, you wouldn't tell an adult, don't go into the kitchen because there's dangerous things, because you know that the adult can take care of themselves and can make good choices not to touch the hot stove, right? In the same way, like, adults don't need this type of rules, like, don't listen to this music because it's gonna make you want to do bad things. Like, you're not, if you don't want to do bad things, you won't do bad things. The music is not gonna change that. I think that whenever you watch a video from a religious person pushing their religion in a very relatable, fun way, you need to take a step back. You need to pause a little bit and not get carried away by like the hype, and really pay attention at the ideas they're pushing and ask yourself, is there a logic behind it? Is there really a good reason to follow this religious mandate? Is there a real life benefit, or are we just following this mandate because we fear that God might punish us if we don't, or we fear that we'll be ostracized by the other people in their religion if we don't? Like, those are the type of questions that one has to ask oneself before signing up for any religion, because yeah, I mean, a lot of those mandates are a little harmful, and if they're not harmful, they are irrational and they just make your life a little bit harder. And why would you want to make your life harder? Life is to be happy. Make your life as easy as possible. Don't make it more complicated by following rules that are complicated. Like, you can't listen to music. If you go to a store, you have to try to tune it out. Like, that's why what they have to do. They have to try to like not pay attention to the music. That's too much work. If the rules your religion is telling you to follow are that complicated, I don't think it's worth it. Anyways, that was it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a like and be sure to subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.